What's good, everyone, and welcome back to Kaya's Commentary Season 3 finale. And if you're new here, welcome to Kaya's Commentary Season 3 finale. This is a podcast that offers commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, anything in between, and maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get down to it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya R. Pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit the follow/subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. With that, let's kick it into our first segment, Informational and Educational 29 Days of Black History, where I drop a Black history fact that is informational and educational. Today, we're talking about civil rights activist, philosopher, and professor Angela Davis. All information for this fact comes from wams.nyhistory.org. Born January 26, 1944 in Birmingham, Alabama, Davis's activism started early on. Being raised in Birmingham, Alabama in the 1940s, racism was alive and well and all around Davis, and so too was the fight to banish it. Davis's mother was not only vocal against the violence, but she'd also be associated with a Black civil rights group that had communist ties. It would be in high school where Davis took part in a study that paired Black Southerner students with white Northerner students in the hopes to educate the latter on the Black Southern experience in America. She'd find her new school in New York to be far more open-minded, aligning with the beliefs taught to Davis by her parents, which led her to partner with the school's communist youth group. From there, she'd also study in Massachusetts and abroad in Germany, where she'd earn a PhD in philosophy. Returning stateside, Davis immediately became immersed in the civil rights movement, taking note of the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee and the Black Panther Party. Davis agreed with the organization's message of Black power, but questioned if their stance on equality extended to their women members, expressing her feelings that there was a difference in expectation from the male leaders to the women in the organization. Her attention then shifted to the Communist Party and its message of ending capitalism, just as an important fight to Davis as was the ending of racism, as well as the party's welcoming attitude towards women. Davis would end up gaining a leadership role with the Communist Party's local chapter. Later, Davis would begin her teaching career at UCLA in 1916. However, when the governor of California, Ronald Reagan, took issue with the political messages Davis was speaking, he would seek to get her fired. Davis would fight back and win before the school again would seek to fire her for political comments deemed too radical in recent speeches. Davis also took part in the Soledad Brothers Defense Committee of 3 Black inmates accused of the murder of a white prison guard. Said committee aimed to bring attention and support to the men. However, on August 7, 1970, when a brother to one of the inmates took a courtroom hostage, stating that he'd hold the hostages until the inmates were freed, led to 4 people, including the judge, being killed. An investigation would find that Davis bought the gun used in the botched standoff. The state of California at the time allowed for charges to be brought on a person if they were present at the crime and would seek to charge Davis, leading her to go on the run. She'd be put on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list before being captured in October. Then President Richard Nixon would congratulate the FBI on the, quote, capture of the dangerous terrorist Angela Davis. The state would seek to charge Davis with murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy, all charges which could be met at the time with the death penalty. Davis maintained her innocence, stating that not only was she not at the crime, that she'd only got the gun for legal reasons. Davis would be held and jailed for 18 months without bail, mostly restrained to solitary confinement, but her case would catch national attention. Many shouted "Free Angela" and created posters and buttons, arguing that she was a political prisoner. John Lennon and Yoko Ono and the Rolling Stones would also record songs dedicated to her. Davis, who always stood for prison reform, would double down on her beliefs after being forced to suffer inside one. Davis would be cleared of all charges by an all-white jury on June 4, 1972. She'd go on to continue speaking about equality, including in several then-communist countries. She'd also go on to publish several books on prison reform, women's rights, racial equality, capitalism, and the LGBTQ community of which she is a part of. Currently, Davis is considered a professor of the Emerita of the History of Consciousness at the University of California in Santa Cruz. And that is your Black History Fact for the week. With that, let's kick it into our next segment, our newer segment, quote unquote, how old are you? Top 5 quote unquote older boomer things that I do. So I see every now and then on Twitter, it's like, oh, what's the quote unquote old head boomer older thing that you do? And I just kind of want to give my own spin, my own commentary on the top 5 that I do. So let's get into it. Number 5, the acknowledgement that there actually is food at home. So I'm no longer a college student getting those nice fat plump college refund checks. So I'm not just out here balling no more. I'm in between jobs right now. So I don't have them kind of funds no more. So actually, yes, there is food at home, and I should probably go home because what would be healthier for me, what would be better financially for me, would be to go home and cook. On the flip side, I am the cook at home, so it's like cook or just eat out. It's easier. It's so much easier, but it's like I'm not a big ball of shot caller right now. Like I don't have those kind of funds, so the acknowledgement that there actually is food at home. And a bonus, since it's food related, butter pecan ice cream. I will throw down on some butter pecan ice cream. I sure will. Number four, in bed by 8 o'clock. On a real good day, I ain't even gonna hold you. On a real good day, I'm in bed by 7. And when I was working on set, I was in bed by 5 if I could get home because I was up by 5. Like I used to be so embarrassed by the fact that I couldn't stay up and quote unquote hang, but it's like I'm tired and I'm an adult now. Like, why am I trying to prove to you that I can stay up? I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. I think it was what the last two episodes I had a shirt on that said I'm gonna ride it down until about 9 or so. Especially if it's dead set of winter and with the darkness, it's probably about 5. It's probably if you didn't catch me to make up plans before then, I'm in bed. I'm tired. I'm an adult, and the way stress is hitting me these days, if I'm asleep, I'm asleep. That's just what I'm gonna do. Number three, power in the tongue. I see a lot of people hop on Twitter, especially with this. I don't know why it was a trend, but a few months ago, a year or so ago, whatever, it was a trend to be like, hey, so and so, they're dead, even though they weren't dead. Why are you doing that? There is power in the tongue. It's not just a joke. Why are you sitting here and be like, oh, they're dead? Like, power in the tongue. Or even, and I'll take it a step further, oh, I'm so tired of seeing so and so. People need to stop casting them. Imagine somebody wishing that you would stop getting a job. Imagine you working 2 to 3 jobs at Walmart, CVS, and the Dollar Tree, and somebody just happened to come up into each of them and be like, dang, you work here too? They need to stop giving you jobs. Like, there is power in the tongue. Why are you wishing that somebody didn't have a job? There's power in the tongue. Why are you sitting here be like, oh, that person is dead? Like, what? Power in the tongue. Also, bonus side note, y'all just need to stop coming on the internet in general saying a whole bunch of stuff. I see a whole bunch of people just coming on the internet and just I've already expressed how I'm tired of seeing like overtly sexual stuff. Maybe that's a quote unquote boomer thing too, but I'm tired of seeing overtly sexual stuff on my timelines, especially when I'm not engaging in it. So it's not like it should be on my timelines. And just the confessing of crimes. And then want to be like, the government is watching you. Is the government watching you? Or did you hop your dumb ass on the internet to confess to a crime? Like, we should just know less about people. We should just know less about people. But back on topic, power in the tongue. Like, watch what you say and how you say it. Number two, excessive loudness. And it's always irked me, even since I was I ain't gonna say a child, but even since I was a teenager, like, it's always irked me. Like, especially if you're in a car and you're driving, like, why does your music have to shake my car? I live in the country, and every now and then there'll be a car that just passes by on the road, and it's like so loud that it's shaking the things in my house. In my house? Are you deaf? Like, legit, real quick, are you deaf? Is the music that loud because you're purposely trying to feel the vibration of it because you can't hear it? Are you deaf? Like, why? Why does your music have to be so loud that I have to hear? Why? And as far as like loudness in public or just loudness in a general setting, I equally hate that because let's say it's just a moderate loudness and then you come in being extra loud and then got the audacity, gumption, and gall to sit here and mean mug people who stare at you. You wanted the attention. You're the loudest person in the room. Like, excessive loudness. Cannot stand it. Cannot stand it. Number one, and this one might be an unpopular controversial hot take. I don't know. Because I'm seeing a lot of people that are like, you don't have to show people general niceness and kindness. So it may or may not be. Speaking when entering an area, especially if it's someone's home. Now, a while ago, this topic always seems to pop up. And so it popped up like 2, 3 years ago, and I will never forget it because like the excuses were just maddening to me. Somebody made a video and they were like, if you come into my house, like you one of my kids' friends or whatever, you come into my house and you don't speak to me, turn it on around, you got to go. And people in the comments were like, I'm antisocial, I'm introverted, I have anxiety, coming from somebody who is introverted. I'm not gonna say I've been diagnosed with anxiety, but it's a feeling nonetheless, and I get that feeling. That's not an excuse. If you were big, bad, and bold to step up into this person's house, you can speak. Hello, how are you? My name is. Thank you for allowing me into your space. I've also talked about this, but like one of the first sleepovers that I had, that girl mama knew from the moment I got to the door to the moment I left the door. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me into this space. Like, because she did not have to. She didn't, because her daughter would just be making plans. She used to just be making plans. And I don't know if she would just make them and then tell her mama, like, she didn't have to. Like, that is not an excuse. You were big, bad, and bold. You had the I don't know how to say the gall, but the you were good enough to walk into someone's home. You can be good enough to speak. And this notion of, oh, why do I say how are you? It's not like they really care. Power in the tongue goes back to power in the tongue. Because when you walk into that mindset, that's on you. Don't place that on me, though. That's a you thing. But if you keep saying it, maybe I won't care. Like, just power in the tongue and attitude. As far as like a general area, yes, I feel like you should speak. It's okay to acknowledge when someone's entered the room and to acknowledge them acknowledging you entering the room. Like, can y'all tell I was raised by old heads? I was raised by old heads. Like, the yes ma'am, no ma'am type old head. Yes sir, no sir type old heads. Like, you just speak. Speak. I will never forget. I was on set and it was like maybe the second to last day. We were in a carport. We were in a carport. So it's like, it's not that big. And I stepped up and I was like, good morning. And location said good morning. Location said good morning, but nobody else said good morning. And this honestly, it slipped out. I really didn't mean to say it, but it slipped out. I said, oh, okay, so I guess ain't nobody heard me. And they're like, oh yeah, good morning, good morning. And locations just laughed because he was like, but like, like, and I didn't mean to say that because I don't need to give people any type of reason to be like, oh, she's difficult to work with. But like, you heard me. That's just plain ignoring. Speak. It's not that hard. It's not hard to speak when somebody enters an area, to acknowledge that person and to acknowledge them acknowledging you. When someone speaks, you speak back. Like, it's not hard. Those are my top 5 quote unquote old head boomer older things that I do. What are yours? Certainly let me know. With that, let's kick into our third and final segment. Okay, we're talking about, I think it was, is it 2022? I think it was 2022. The Blackening. Now, I had meant to see this film, like, for a hot minute, and I just never did until recently, because I was like, during Black History Month, I suppose I just want to review kind of Black films, which is why I did Miss Juneteenth last week. I'm pulling up the synopsis because I actually don't have it in my notes. But 7 friends go away for the weekend only to find themselves trapped in a cabin with a killer who has a vendetta. They must pit their street smarts and knowledge of horror movies against the murderer to stay alive. And they are all Black, so this is a Black film. And like I said, I had meant to watch it for a hot minute and just never did. And I finally got around to it because I was like, I kind of want to I already had some setups, which is why I did the Hunger Games earlier and stuff. I already had films already set up. So we're going to end out the podcast on Black history. Let's get into it. So the movie starts off with words. It's like, the following is based on true events. That never actually happened. So we already starting off silly. And you're setting up a cabin for friends. We have our main 2 characters, some of our main 2 characters, because not really main 2 characters, because they are the first ones to Spoiler alert, BT dubs. I will hopefully try to remember to put that up on the screen somewhere or in the description down below. Spoiler alert, or I'll just say it, spoiler alert. So we have two characters. We have Morgan, and she's getting spooked when she hears a noise, but it ends up being her boyfriend, Sean. And at least they're somewhat aware. She's like, we're in a cabin in the woods by ourselves until everybody else get here. Announce yourself. Also, we get pan out cameras looking in, so it does look like somebody outside. Now, Morgan is a no-nonsense on spooky. Again, it's good that they're aware, but maybe not too aware, because why y'all messing with games called the Blackening that has black characters? Like, so they end up going into this quote-unquote game room and it has a lot of games, but on the table, it's this thing that's called the Blackening. And you take off the lid and it has a black character, a black caricature. And it's kind of like, think Jumanji, because it also but it talks. And so it says, you're a black character in a horror movie. Prove that you can stay alive. Name one black character that survived a horror movie. Answer right or die. And so Sean answers wrong, and Morgan also doesn't answer because she's like, no, that wouldn't it. She kind of criticizes him for his, which doesn't lead her to answer right either. And it somewhat kicks off their curiosity as they notice that there are game pieces, which is about to think Jumanji. They have game pieces, and each game piece is symbolic. There's a game piece that looks like one of Morgan's earrings, and another game piece that looks like something else that has something to do with Sean. So it kind of kicks our curiosity, but the game is like, you didn't answer correctly. Time to die. So the lights go out, the door closes, and Sean catches an arrow to the throat. Morgan gets terrorized by a man in a mask. So maybe not so weird, because again, we out in a cabin in the woods. Why are we out in a cabin in the woods? Why are we here? You could have had any type of resort. Because I think Morgan got money. She's the one that's planning this. You could have any type of resort. You go to a cabin in the woods, and mind you, when she's guiding her other friends there through voicemail or whatever, she's like, it's gonna feel like you've gone too far, but just keep coming. If it feel like I've gone too far, I don't need to be going. I don't need to be going. So other friends are on the way. They're not aware of Morgan and Sean's situation. We see that there's the quote unquote shining. You're making the facial features between black people, and you telepathically, you know what I'm talking about. So there's the shining between Lisa and Allison. And we see Lisa, Allison, and Dwayne. These are the three driving up. And so they're talking about who is all going to be there. And Dwayne is like, as long as Namdi is not there. And Allison's like, you ain't tell him about Namdi? No, Namdi is Lisa's ex, and they're getting back together. And Dwayne, she don't want Dwayne to find out, because Dwayne, who's the gay best friend, he's the one that's like, I was always here for you when he cheated on you and broke your heart in college. Don't go but run it back to him. So she didn't really tell him like that. Also, Allison, she's like, I'm gonna try to censor myself, but she's like, I got this kind of drug, I got this, we gonna get messed up tonight. Ain't no way I'm doing drugs in a cabin in the middle of the woods. Not at all. So maybe not so aware. Already it looks like they on the wrong side of town. We see Shanika, she's getting snacks, and we also see Clifton, who's somewhat like a Carlton character, but maybe not, because at the end of the day, Carlton was still black. Clifton is black, but he was raised in Vermont, and apparently when a lot of it, per his own words, apparently when a lot of black people in Vermont. So they talk before he's like, I think it's either her car that kind of ran out of gas or something, or like something happened. So they catch a ride together. Again, we are aware that it's a cabin in the woods, because Dwayne is like, why are we out here in a cabin in the woods? But also, I guess not aware enough. We see King, who's another friend, and Namdi, the ex. They're already there. Also, it's Juneteenth, so they get together maybe every 10 years on Juneteenth. Dwayne is upset about Namdi because, he's Lisa's ex. He used to, be horrible to her. Sometimes, apparently, he would cheat on her and stuff. And Dwayne was always there to pick up the pieces. Again, tossing around drugs in a cabin in the woods on the wrong side of town. Couldn't be me. Allison also kind of checks Namdi. She's like, yo, don't be messing with her heart this time. Do what you all gotta do, but don't be messing with her heart. And then we see preparations for the night. King is sitting here making Kool-Aid, too sweet Kool-Aid. He dumped a whole bunch of alcohol and a whole bunch of sugar in there. He gonna catch some sugar cramps, which we're gonna come back to. And then him and King, Namdi chill and they talking. And Namdi's like, "Oh, I'm a changed man." And King's like, literally verbatim, word for word. You say that same thing every time. And then we also find out that King he got a white wife, but she ethnic white though, Armenian. But they chilling. Come nightfall, we chilling again. We playing spades. For those that don't know, spades is a very important game in the Black community. Like, if you don't know how to play spades, I don't know what to tell you, because people don't ever teach you how to play spades. All they hit you with is, you don't know how to play spades. So it's very important. Spades and Uno. Like, spades and Uno. So if you know the trash talking and the importance of Uno, imagine that, but with spades. Like, it's serious business. So they chilling, they playing spades. Dwayne ain't trying to hang because he upset, but Lisa gave him some stuff earlier, and so it just had to hit him. So he's all philosophical now, and then 20 minutes later he wilding. Lisa dips off, looking to hook up with Namdi. She kind of feels bad because she hadn't told Dwayne yet. Dwayne finds one of Morgan's earrings, but it's not, I don't know if it's the earring or if it's the game piece, but he finds it. He also sees like a door creaks open, and he's checking it out, and then goes to close it. Which, that part, because out of sight, out of mind, is Shanika messing with him though. So she comes in, she calls it with Lisa and Namdi. She said, "Y'all smell like something." And Dwayne overhears. He's too high to care, but maybe not too much, because he's like, "Hey, let's have a toast." And he kind of clocks her in a toast. He's like, "Cheers to having standards and self-respect." Clifton wants to play spades, but don't nobody want to teach him. Clifton, like I say, he was in Vermont. No one plays spades in Vermont apparently. So they like, "Nah, you can sit and you can watch, and if you learn, cool, but ain't nobody got time to be teaching you how to play spades." So they chilling, about to get in on some spades, but then the lights go out. King goes to look for a fuse, but Lisa thinks she sees something, and so they all end up looking for a fuse or something, because there you go, no separating. They find all the doors locked except the game room, which actually has a sign game room, which wasn't there earlier, and the door was locked earlier, but now it's not locked. Also, they're not worried enough about Morgan and Sean for me. It's nightfall, and I guess they got the message that Morgan was like, "Hey, we out and we'll be back later." But like, it's nightfall. It's well into the night now, and they still not here. They were not worried enough about them. Lights come back on, and we see the Blackening game and others, because it's a game room, but the Blackening is on the table. Clifton notes the Ouija board. He's like, "Oh yeah, I love the Ouija. I tried to summon Gary Coleman one time, and he wasn't so happy." Like, Clifton's weird. Dwayne, and I want to say here and now, the minute the spades get pulled out, I'm already gonna tell y'all this is really kind of a predictable movie as far as the quote-unquote game maker goes. Like, when the minute spades get pulled out, you know who the game maker is. So just keep that in mind, and I'll come back to that. Dwayne mentions that he found Morgan's earring or game piece, as they all look at the game pieces that are like specific pieces for them. And they're like, "Okay, cool, let's just see what the game is." So Lisa, they start off the game, they start one by one. TV pops on, and we see Morgan tied up, and the game has a name and its rules. Answer before the timeout. 10 right, everyone lives. 1 wrong, Morgan dies. Refuse to play, you die. So, Black history questions. Who is Sojourner Truth? Dark Skin and Viv. NAACP stand for second verse to lift every voice and sing. 15 Black inventions. 5 Black actors on Friends. That one was a trick question, because the right answer was don't know, didn't watch, I was more of a living single type person. So since it was a trick question, TV flips back on, and we see Morgan. She has this thing on her head, and he's tightening it. The masked man is tightening it, and ends up ripping Morgan's wig off, but she ends up escaping, and they're trying to find a way out. They run upstairs and see that their tires have been aired out. TV flips back on. Morgan's running. We find out that she's in the basement. And so it's like Dwayne, Allison, and Shanika, or Dwayne, Shanika, and Allison. And it's like, "Oh my God, she's right behind you. He's right behind you. He's right behind her." Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw. It's funny, but it's like, come on, y'all, be serious. Um, so King goes to get his gun that he swore he didn't have earlier in the day, and he takes a shot and is like, Morgan, we're gonna get you out. So he tries to shoot the lock off and it's like, okay, the lock is off, come on out, Morgan. But the masked man comes out and King gets an arrow to the shoulder. The masked man is trying to come out the basement further, but Shanika ends up stabbing him in the foot and pushing him back down. He comes out anyway after recovering from that, and King gets another arrow to the back. They're running back down the hallway to the game room. Allison tries to take it out, ends up impaling herself with it in the shoulder, and now they're locked back in the game room. So the game comes back on, and the outcome of the situation depends on participation. They're like, we're done playing your game, and the game is like, are you sure? And so the next question, next challenge, whatever would have you sacrifice the person you deem the blackest. 2 minutes or everyone dies. They end up they go back and forth. Okay, what about you? What about you? What about you? But they all end up settling on Clifton because he's like, I can prove I'm not the blackest. I voted for Trump twice. Beyonce's Super Bowl thing made me uncomfortable. And so they were like, you know what? Just for that, for the MAGA, you gotta go. So they all say Clifton. He chastised them. He's like, that's what the game wanted. And he ends on all lives matter, and he walks out. They don't really feel right about their decision, so they do try to go back and get him, but they're locked back in. TV pops back on, and we show Clifton gets an arrow, and he gets dragged off. And so the game is like, everyone didn't vote. Clifton didn't vote. And so Nnamdi is like, okay, we're done playing this game for real. He knocks it off the table. Masked Man comes on the TV and says, let's play sudden death then. The game room door opens. You have 3 minutes of safety before the other's doors open. Are your chances better inside or out? Choose. They all start arguing, but agree to they have to go, and they end up looking for weapons. King and Allison kind of lag because they wounds. We also found out that Allison has Adderall in her system for the thing for her wound as opposed to like Tylenol or something. Because that's gonna be hyper. But they end up having to split up because Dwayne, Lisa, and Nnamdi want to stay inside. They're scared to go out. Shanika, Allison, and King end up leaving. And before they part, they all end up going on the mantra, you are my sister, my strength, and my pride. So Lisa goes to the basement to find Morgan, Dwayne, and Nnamdi follow, with Dwayne bringing up the rear. Allison, Shanika, and King are in the woods as Allison begins to feel the Adderall. She tries to stay, but Shanika is the one to pull her out of it. We find cameras in the basement and the Confederate flag. Shanika and King try to find out what to do. He's gonna climb a tree and she's gonna see if she can swim across a lake. We also see a ranger, and the ranger was at the start of the film, and he was kind of giving King a hard time because he thought King was trespassing, and he's like, this family only, rents to certain type of families. And so they just took that as, being racism. He might have been on to something though. So Shanika swims, but we also see the masked man, and he begins to shoot her from a tree. King ends up seeing him, and he jumps down on the masked man to save Shanika. He starts throwing shots, and it's all cool, all good. Masked man can't fight, so King throwing hands. But they're Kool-Aid cramp though. So he catches a cramp, and then masked man starts he's like, okay, you're gonna watch her die before I take you out. So Shanika tries to swim back, but she's a little far in. Here comes Allison herself. She Wolverines it. She got arrows, broken off arrows in each hand, and she doing some type of Muay Thai or karate, whatever. She get it. She get them. So we see that the masked man is a clerk from the store Shanika saw at the beginning of the movie. He was really ominous and scary looking, and like he was going to do something to her at the beginning of the movie. But we also find out that there is more than one because she stabbed him in the foot, and the person that's on the ground now, he doesn't have a stab wound. So there's 2, at least. So they have to go back to warn the others. As far as Lisa, Nnamdi, and Dwayne, the ranger comes in and he kind of saves them. He takes them to his car, but he ends up going to investigate further. Why? I don't know. He's white. Anyway, we find a mask in the ranger's car, but we don't know if he's one of the masked men or not. But we ain't gonna try to see nothing. So he's comes back to the car and he's like, let me in. They're like, no. I guess he doesn't end up being one of the masked men because he gets taken out too. Lisa and Namdi go back into the house and they end up hiding in an event. Dwayne stays behind, but he ends up coming back. He told them to run off, but he didn't mean it. And so now he's mad at them for leaving him. So he gets up in the event with him, and Dwayne and Lisa go at it, talking about, you don't appreciate me. You didn't dignify me enough to tell me you and Namdi were back together. While they're doing this, because it's the worst time, which Namdi points out, Masked Man turns off the signal blocker that he had on, and their phones begin to ding. He finds them, but Dwayne, who gets a little sick when scared, ends up puking on him. And the masked man falls over the stair balcony. Dwayne grabs a crossbow as the others try to fight, and he gets him in the hand. So they're thinking he's done for, and Dwayne and Lisa go back at it. But the masked man starts to get up. Shanika and the others come in, and they take him out with that arrow. So Lisa goes for her blunt objects and finish him off. This is what I call women rage, because yes, she's taking him out. She's like, I'm tired of women always having to be the one to save, especially when they hit that slow-mo. And that's women rage. Loved it. So, it's over for the most part for the masked men. They're like, okay, they're gone, but we also find a note which has their names on it and a price next to each of their name. Also, Shanika clocks Lisa and Namdi and Dwayne is like, yo, now's not the time. So it was twins, the clerk, because they share an identity and they were paid to kill them. So we find Clifton and the ranger body in the basement. TV comes on and we see bodies being dumped into a well, and we see who was dumping into a well. Like I thought, it was Clifton. It's very predictable. If you haven't gotten it by now, it's very predictable. So he has explosive sets, and you have to play games to get answers why he was involved in a hit and run after a Juneteenth party, and all he wanted to do was play spades, but they never wanted to teach him. Like I said, he's certainly not around a lot of black folk to learn. And so when he was playing spades with them 10 years ago, he messed up and reneged when he shouldn't have. And they clowned him. Look, black people, you clown people in spades. That's just how it is. That's just how, if you don't have the mental capacity for that, stay out. Like, I'm not excusing it, but I'm just saying it's probably never going to change. So he drank and he drove for the first time. He drank for the first time and drove and ended up hitting someone. He got 4 years for manslaughter. Who did you hit, and what kind of deal did you take to get 4 years for manslaughter? While everyone else kept living their life and they didn't even realize what happened to him. Now, everyone else went down to the basement except for Keen and Allison. They're injured, and so they're like, the TV pops on in the living room too, and they also see that it's Clifton, and it's like, okay, who was controlling the doors when he was with us? And so they go to pick the clerk's pockets, they find a remote, and they're trying to open the doors. And so down in the basement, Clifton is like, pick the blackest or you die. So Dwayne and Lisa cop a plan. Lisa chooses herself, Clifton loses it, and Dwayne and Namdi plot. But since Clifton technically is black, of course he got the shine too. He catch on. So Allison and King hit with the lights, and this ends up with Namdi getting shot with an arrow. And then Allison and King hit the lights, and Dwayne takes on Clifton. He drops the crossbow that he had, and Shanika picks it up. And so they're in the dark and they're fumbling, and it ends up with Shanika hitting Clifton. So he gets hit with the arrow, and Dwayne ends up kicking him into the well. And morning comes, and they all survived for the most part. Now they're trying to figure out how to get home and get help, because can't really call the cops with something like this. So they think to call the firemen, only to get hosed. And that's really the movie. Thoughts? I really enjoyed this movie. It was a little predictable, like about the game maker. Like I said, as soon as they pulled out spades, you already knew who it was. Didn't really matter to me though, because like for the most part, I was wrapped up in the storytelling. Like I legit got scared when King got hit with the arrow. I thought he might die, especially then when he jumped down to help out Shanika in the lake. I was like, no, what happened to we all can't die first? Like I was glad that for the most part, the main characters made it. It kind of put me in the mind of Tales from the Hood 2 with the Gollywog skit as far as black caricatures go. And it was just overall enjoyable to me. Like, I somewhat have a problem. I'm going to be honest. I somewhat have a problem, with certain black media, because it sometimes feels not realistic to me. Like, of course, Black people are not a monolith, so we all talk and do things different. But seeing the overuse of the N-word or curse words or colloquialisms in certain Black medias just feels too forced to me. Here, though, almost every use, now they do kind of somewhat overuse the N-word, but for the most part, every use of the N-word or colloquialism felt genuine to me. Um, and so my only problem is why are we chilling in a cabin in the woods? Like in the woods that if you feel too far gone, just keep coming. Like it's definitely too far. Like where is the survival instincts? Like if it feels too far, we don't need to be out here. Like why are we chilling in a cabin in the woods? Outside of that, I really enjoyed it. But looking at the reviews, you think that this film was so bad. And I just want to know if those reviews came from people who legit thought they were going into a horror film, because this is more a film about horror, semi-parody-ish, but still serious enough to not be considered a full parody. Or if those reviews came from a certain demographic who felt like you had to be well-versed in Black American culture to get the film or both. Like, either way, the film certainly isn't as bad as some of the reviews that I've seen. Um, don't go in thinking that's going to be fully horror and suspense into the end. Go in to see how a group of Black friends make it out of a dangerous situation. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Also, moral of the story, y'all better start teaching people how to play spades, okay? Like, teach them how to play spades and then let them know that when they get the hang of it, there's going to be some serious trash talk, okay? Give them the rules and the warnings. Otherwise, and if you don't have the mentality to take that kind of trash talking, don't. Y'all better start teaching people how to play spades. That's all I'm saying. With that, that's Let's Go to the Movies. And that's Kaya's commentary. If you like this episode, be sure to like this episode. Hit the thumbs up button. Leave likes, comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts on any of the segments that I had. Be respectful. We can have a conversation with one another, but only if we are respectful. But certainly let me know any of your thoughts and opinions on any of the segments that I had. Thank you for listening and for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through season 3. I know it's kind of been hard because I had to break it up because I'm dealing with things. I'm just so glad to continue to do this. It's really awesome and I'm really enjoying myself doing this. And I'm already 3 seasons in. I'm awesome. Look, I'm awesome, but also it's awesome and I really enjoy this. So thank you for listening and watching and supporting, hopefully sharing. With that, see you next time.